Hello and welcome into this new video tutorial of PHP tutorials. I will use Ajax as well as in this tutorial. Our today's topic is how we can update data without page reloading, and also how we can update a div content or table content without page reloading. So here is a basic HTML page structure. These some important libraries of Bootstrap and jQuery. After setting this basic HTML page structure, save this file into your server directory. Page title is update.php, and now you have to create a database and a table within your database. Open this using localhost /phpMyAdmin. For this tutorial you must have a XAMPP installed on your Windows operating system. So here is a table users. I will use this table. Here you have to set a basic table where I will display the data of this as the database table. Table ID, table users, close this table. Also you have to set table header, and after setting this header, we will create a backend file where we will add the PHP code for table body. Set all the required table header columns and create a tag table body. You can set here table body ID, and other way you can also call it like table ID and then table tbody tag. Here you have to write JavaScript tag and document.ready for jQuery code. Here we will create a function to fetch data. Populate table. We will use Ajax. So I am here setting the basic Ajax structure. First will be URL of the backend page, and then type will be post. So after this success function with parameter data, and we will use table body ID to populate the result .html and data. So here our table is completed. We will have to call this function in our document.ready function on page first load. Here we will create a file, backend file fetch.php, and use our basic. First we will create a database connection. MySQLi connect, server host, localhost, username, password and database name, 4 variable in MySQLi connect function. Database name is invoice. Now create a query, SQL query select query to read data from database. Now execute this query. Here I have created a variable table and while loop. Sorry, I have not executed the query first. MySQL query is two parameter we have to pass: connection, database connection, and our SQL query. And now we will use while loop to pass all the data in our variable table. So table is equal to table dot equal to add all the data. Here I am creating a table row, and within this section I will add all the TD for the table. We will write only once, and it will execute a while loop and pass all the data to this variable. Now you have to call a required database column, like here user title and username and all the required column names. After adding these names, we will print this variable outside the while loop. Here we also have to add actions. I am setting all the required column names, like if you want to add some more columns, email. And here we will add our action buttons like edit or delete. Here I will add only edit. ID is edit, and data ID we have to pass the table row ID to identify this which row we have clicked. btn bootstrap button class. Now we will print this variable outside the while loop. So our backend is ready. Now we will call this page in web browser. Okay, our database is not, our bootstrap library is not called, so internet was off. Now we will reload the page and you can see the result. Now you write code for edit button, and we will show a pop-up model. Here I will write code for pop-up model. We will display data into this model when we click on any row of the table. So this is the basic model code, and in the model body I am going to add a form and all the required field. Form is not required. Here I will add all the required input field text boxes. This is the basic form group, and one by one I will add all the required field like input type, text, class, form control, and then name of the field and ID of the field. You can also add this within the form tag, HTML form tag. ID, all the required field I will add here, ID and title. Make sure you have added all the required field and as well as set the ID of the table. We will also, when we click on the edit button, we will get the table row data by. Here we will also add a new hidden field for row ID. By using this row ID, we will update the data in backend. Now I will add here document dot on click button. We must have to write it using this method, document dot on click. So you to uniquely identify which row is clicked. Create a variable and get this dot data ID that we have created in our fetch.php file. Now we will create all the variable, all the according to our field name, text box name, name or ID. So here I am creating row this dot closest tr. You can also get from using ID from data from database, but I am only getting getting the data from front end. So add here one by one each td ID like this, row dot find td eq0 1 2 3 array index 1 2, change the ID of the text box. Array index started always from 0. And now we will show the model and adding a new ID in the button btn update. When we click this button, our data will be updated in database, and in the Ajax success function I will recall the populate data function to populate data in our HTML table. So set the URL. You can create a new file like update data or edit PHP. Here I am creating edit.php. Type is post data. Pass all the data one by one. You can pass one by one variable. Otherwise you can add a form and add the form ID here like serialize jQuery function. So I am adding a form ID here, creating a form HTML tag. Form ID is equal to add any ID. Form 1 method you can set here post. Call this ID of the form. Data is equal to form id form1 dot serialize, and you can also add btn button id, create a success function, and when data will be updated in our database successfully, we will call our function populate data function here again. First we have to create here database connection variable, then we will write query update query to update data. Update user set, add one by one column name. We will create variable here from our front end page. Name is equal to post name title. Now after creating all the variable and passing all the variable in our SQL update query, last variable is id, which we will use in our query where class. Execute. Now we will execute this query mysqli query and pass to variable connection and our query variable SQL. Now if query is successfully executed, we will print a message that our data is updated successfully. Only I am getting a message success, but on failure we will get a message failed. And further we can modify this message in our front end. Here is the power model, and I am giving a margin to all the field, so these will be look good. Here you can see. So now we will update the data. So our data is updated. Now we have to close the model and display. You can also display a message here. Model title, I am going to change its color. So you can see data is updated. Now you can display a message here. You can do. So I am displaying a message here that our data is updated successfully. So here I will check, write a, you can also write a message using if clause. If message is successful, so you can display message here, data is updated successfully. Otherwise you can display fail to update data. You can use if clause, if data is equal to success, so this part will be executed. Otherwise we will print another message here, hiding the model outside this if clause, if condition. So alert dot remove class success and add class alert dot add class alert danger. Only This will change the color of the background. Here you can see data is updated successfully. So thanks for watching this video. Subscribe for getting more video tutorial about PHP.